Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I talk about things that are taking place throughout our city, our state, our country, and sometimes around the world, just to open up our eyes and ears to many of the travails, good or bad, that are taking place. And I got one straight out of Oklahoma again. It's a very sad story, and it has an LGBTQ quality to it. And high school student, another fight, and led to some devastating results. So here we go. What we know about the death of non-binary student in Oklahoma. Next, Benedict, 16, died one day after an altercation with classmates in a school bathroom in Oklahoma. The death was later ruled a suicide. The death of 16-year-old non-binary student after an altercation in a high school girls' bathroom in Oklahoma has drawn national attention and outrage from gay and transgender rights groups that say the student had been bullied because of their gender identity. Next, Benedict, who often used the pronouns they and them, remember that, and told relatives that they did not see themselves as strictly male or female, died in early February, one day after the altercation with three girls at Owasso High School. The medical examiner has ruled the death a suicide. Details of what happened during the altercation have remained unclear, but in a police interview video released February 24th, Nex said they had blacked out while being beaten on the bathroom floor. Nex's death prompted an outpouring of grief across the country, particularly from the LGBTQ community, and a renewed focus on the proliferation of policies that restrict gay and transgender rights. Lawyers for the Benedict family called for a full investigation. The Benedicts know all too well the devastating effects of school violence and pray for meaningful change wherein bullying is taken seriously and no family has to deal with another preventable tragedy, they said in a statement. So here's what we know about the case. What happened leading up to Nex's death? The altercation took place on February 7th. The Owasso Police Department said in a statement on February 20th that no police report had been made about the fight until after Nex was taken to a hospital by relatives later the same day. At that point, a school resource officer went to the hospital, the police said. Nex was discharged and went home, but was rushed back to the hospital by medics the next day and died there, the police said. On February 24th, the police released a video of Nex's interview at the hospital on the day of the altercation, which provided the fullest account yet of what happened. Nex said in the interview that three girls had beaten them after Nex had poured water on the girls for laughing at them and their friends. Nex said the girls had previously mocked Nex and their friends because of the way that they dressed. We were laughing, Nex said, and they had said something like, "Why do you laugh like that?" They were talking about us in front of us. Then all three of them came at me, Nex added. At one point, Nex hit their head on the bathroom floor, according to Sue Benedict, the grandmother and guardian of Nex. Nex went to the hospital and came home that day. The next day, Nex collapsed at home and was rushed back to the hospital where they were pronounced dead, Mrs. Benedict said. An autopsy by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner in Tulsa concluded that Nex had died by suicide, the result of a toxic combination of diphenhydramine, an antihistamine commonly used for allergies, and fluoxetine, a drug often used to treat depression. But the Benedict family said in a statement that a full version of the autopsy report, not yet released to the public, had also noted other injuries, including a broken blood vessel in the eye and various bruises, cuts, and abrasions to the head, face, torso, and limbs, which they said contradict allegations of the assault on Nex being insignificant. Police officials said the results of their investigation would be forwarded to the district attorney's office after the release of the full autopsy. So several details remain unknown. It is still unclear whether Nex was beaten because of their gender identity, and the family has not discussed the nature of the bullying referred to in the lawyer's statement. Advocates for non-binary and transgender students have said that Oklahoma's policies on gender had led to more reports of confrontations in school, and questions remain over why school officials did not contact the police or other officials after the altercation. In a statement on February 20th, the Owasso School District suggested that there had been speculation and misinformation about the circumstances surrounding the altercation, which it said lasted less than 2 minutes before being broken up by other students along with a staff member. The school said that all the students involved walked under their own power to the assistant principal's office and nurse's office. Now, Oklahoma has several laws restricting transgender rights. The incident has renewed scrutiny over anti-transgender legislation in Oklahoma. The state has several laws that restrict transgender rights, including one that prohibits students from using bathrooms that do not align with their sex at birth. Another law explicitly bans gender-neutral markers on birth certificates. Oklahoma also bars minors from receiving gender transition care. This year, the state legislature is considering a bill to prohibit residents from changing their sex designation on birth certificates, and another to require public schools to acknowledge that gender is an immutable biological trait and bar people from using names or pronouns that differ from their birth certificates. Wow, Oklahoma's something else. The laws are part of a nationwide push by conservatives to restrict gay and transgender rights. State houses around the country have been consumed by fights over laws governing them, with at least 23 states having passed bans on gender transition care for minors. Now, the state superintendent had something to say, defended his stance on gender, while LGBTQ advocates blamed him for creating a hostile environment. Now, this is how it goes. Oklahoma Superintendent for Public Schools, Ryan Walters, has been staunch in his anti-transgender rhetoric since assuming a role in 2022. Mr. Walters remained firm in his stance after the incident, and in his first interview since Nex's death, he told the Times that he does not believe non-binary or transgender people exist. Wow. You always treat individuals with dignity or respect because they're made in God's image, Mr. Walters said. But that doesn't change truth. Meanwhile, supporters of LGBTQ rights have reacted with anger and fear over Nex's death, saying such restrictive policies on gender were harmful. Ryan Walters has created a devastatingly hostile environment for trans, two-spirit, and gender nonconforming students, said Nicole McAfee, the executive director of Freedom Oklahoma, a gay, lesbian, and transgender advocacy group. Transgender students said that classmates have seen rhetoric from officials like Mr. Walters as permission to harass and bully them. Now, what are the federal regulators doing about this? Federal regulators are investigating the school district. The U.S. Department of Education said on March 1st that it has opened an investigation in light of Nex's death, looking into whether Owasso public schools had failed to appropriately respond to alleged harassment of students in violation of federal law. The investigation was in response to a complaint brought by the Human Rights Campaign, according to the department. Karen E. Mines, an acting regional director with the agency's Office of Civil Rights, said that the opening of an investigation in no way implies that OCR has made a determination on the merits of the complaint. In a statement, the school district said it was cooperating with federal officials. It added that it believes the complaint submitted by HRC is not supported by the facts and is without merit. What a case. What is going on in all of these schools, public schools, private schools, city schools, suburban schools? As I've said in many of my previous videos, the level of fighting, the level of disrespect to teachers and administrators, the level of disrespect that students are portraying to each other, the amount of bullying is at an all-time high. What are we going to do to change this entire atmosphere of all of this negativity and hatred towards each other as human beings and restore our humanity, our hopefulness, our community spirit? Kids should be in high school developing friendships and relationships with each other, not fighting with one another. And you're seeing this not only with LGBTQ issues, you're seeing this with race issues, you're seeing this with male teens on male teens, female teens versus female teens, fighting. School is supposed to be a place of learning, a place of development, a place of building camaraderie, a place of developing leadership skills, a place of understanding how to work as a team, teamwork, to excel in sports, to excel in the arts, to excel in academia, to hopefully go from high school and then transition yourself to college, military, trade school, or to begin your navigation into adulthood. But I'm seeing a high level of disrespect and dishonor to the human spirit, where this level of bullying, whether it's internet bullying or in-person bullying, has gotten completely out of hand. And the whole purpose for these kids to go to school, middle school, high school, college, is to learn and to build up a certain level of development in your five senses, in your psychology, your sociology, your physiology, philosophical approach to life, and to navigate and work your way through the travails and the tough times that will be ahead of you. But many of these kids today, it is such a level of chaos and disruption, even in their homes, in their communities, in their schools, that there's so many negative distractions. This has to be the toughest time in the world to be a young person, let alone with technological advances and artificial intelligence that is going to be replacing individuals. We have a large migrant issue that's entering this country, where those individuals are going to need support and help. But I tell you all the time, there are several pillars that are tearing down the fabric of our society: mental health issues, the opioid crisis, homelessness, helplessness, the inhumane treatment on how we are treating each other, gun violence, fatherless homes. And we have to start, as a chess piece or a checker piece, start putting these building blocks back together to have a healthy, positive, and sustaining society. I do not agree with the Oklahoma superintendent, who sounds as if he is anti LGBTQ. I think people and kids grow up and have a plethora of things that are going on, identity issues. I do believe that people can believe they are born in the wrong bodies. I think that we're all human beings, and that supporting each other for whatever journey that one decides to go on, as long as they end up being a good, positive, spiritually driven person that's trying to make the world a better place and not make it a worse place, is the direction we should be headed. Also, with all of these distractions that are taking place, it makes it very hard if you were a teenager today to concentrate on chemistry, geometry, history, and all of the subject matters that you're trying to learn when you have all of this other stuff going on: bullying, fights, cussing, the disrespect for authority figures, very few mentors to help these kids. It's almost as if they're raising themselves. Oklahoma, I think they need to re-look at their draconian, archaic laws on the books in reference to LGBTQ. Uh, we are all God's children in God's eye, and if a person wants, this is supposed to be the land of the free, and if a person wants to live their life and with whatever chasm that they want to live in, they should be allowed to do that if they're not bothering anybody else. So this story was very unfortunate. Benedict had this fight. She was 15, 16 years old. Her life was just beginning, and now it's gone. We're not sure if the fight resulted in her death. Autopsy reports will come about. Further autopsy reports will come out about that later. But there was a situation here recently in St. Louis, Missouri, at Hazelwood East, a North County suburban high school, where two kids, a black female, 15, and a white female, got into a fight, and the black female got the best of the white female and started banging her head on the concrete, and now the white female is in a coma, and St. Louis County is thinking about charging the black female as an adult for assault. So kids are fighting. It can be very traumatic, and you can even die. So next, Benedict got into it with these three girls in the bathroom. Supposedly there was some head trauma. Now they're saying Next may have died by suicide, an antihistamine and an antidepressant, unless she took tons of it. Doesn't seem like it would be something that would necessarily kill her. I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying it's not like it's fentanyl or something like that. But it would be hard to tell if that fight and her getting her head traumatized did not have some effect on her losing her life the very next day. Please follow this case. This is straight out of Oklahoma. This is going to have all kinds of state and federal rulings and guidelines to see where this will lead as far as LGBTQ rights, civil rights, and us trying to live in this world in this melting pot we call America, which is supposed to be the land of the free. And we should be trying to restore and build it up and not tear each other down each and every day. And this level of hatred that these young kids are having today, we have to figure out where that is coming from, make a diagnosis, and then we need to find a cure, or else we're going to lose an entire generation of young folks from all kinds of things, from incarceration to death, gun violence. A lot of these young teenagers are using their energy in the wrong direction. Tell me what you think on this next Benedict story. Straight out of Oklahoma, this recently just happened, and unfortunately, the young lady had an altercation and died the next day. And there's all kinds of things and opinions about this case. Tell me what you think. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way.